Okay, welcome back. In the previous video, you saw the maiden flight of the Avistar, and although in the previous video that you saw problems getting it started, I want to explain some of the starting problems and explain the other issues that happened after the maiden flight. Because after first off, the starting problems ended up being a problem with the glow driver itself. Glow driver was 10 years old. I keep spares, but I always use the one that I've started with. And finally, the clips were not holding it on tight, and there was intermittent contact. Sometimes the contact would work, sometimes it wouldn't. And as soon as I switched to one of my new glow drivers that was fully charged, both of them were fully charged, problems went away. Started first time every time, and it was the glow driver. Well, probably wasn't even the glow plug that I changed out. So that was a problem solved. As the engine broke in, because after the maiden flight, I probably had 4 what I'll call short flights. 2 of which ended in dead sticks. And what I'm going through it, what was happening, the engine was breaking in, as it should. As it was breaking in, the low-speed needle was too lean. And so, because it would just quit. And you can read the manual. By the way, the manual for the OS55 explains all this very well, much better than I can do on a film here. But you read the manual and you'll see the symptoms of when the low-speed needle is too high, or too rich, or too lean. And it was clearly, by the definition in that manual, too lean. And so I would turn it up a little bit, open it up a little bit. And then try it again, and open it up a little bit and try it again. And finally, it ended up being almost a quarter turn out more. And then it flew well, okay? What's interesting is the next day, I took it to the field and tried it again, and it was showing the signs of symptoms of being too rich. Okay, broke it in some more, tightened it in a little bit. So it ended up being about, instead of a quarter turn out from the factory setting, it was about 1/8 of a turn out from the factory setting, and then it flew well after that. So you have to wait until that engine is well broken in. However, I still like to break it in flying it. I'm not scared of dead sticks. I'm going to be right over the field, and I can land it from anywhere as long as it's right over the field. So I'm not worried about the dead sticks. And the other thing that you saw was it was leaning to the right a little bit. After about the 3rd flight, I decided to take the wing off, adjust the on the rudder servo, remember we put a clevis in there to adjust the nose wheel steering. Did about a full turn of that clevis and adjusted it, and it was straight as an arrow after that. So that was a problem solved. You also saw in the previous video where we were breaking in the engine, the flipping, priming the engine after it had already been running a while. I want to explain that a little bit because it was something that a well-experienced instructor at the field told me that I hadn't quite understood. When you're priming the engine, there's really 2 steps, and I was only doing one of them. The first step is obviously open the throttle all the way, cover it with your thumb, and prime it a few times, okay? And then the other thing he said was leave the engine carburetor full open, take your thumb off, and prime it a couple times. And what that does, it moves the fuel into the chamber, into the piston, in the piston, and then you've got fuel coming in, and then you also have fuel right there ready to start. And when you do that, it starts very nicely. Obviously, between the engine break-in and the maiden flight, I refueled, and I refueled after 3 or 4 minutes of flying if it was flying around and it dead sticked, or I decided to bring it in for whatever reason. I keep the engine full. I mean the fuel tank full. So the video you're about to see what I call the second flight, in quotes, but it's really about the 4th or 5th flight if you count how many times I had to start it and take off. But I consider all of that first part to be the break-in and the maiden flight, just an extension of the maiden flight to get the engine broke in and running well. So what you'll see in this flight is what I call it fully broken in and flying well. And I'll have some comments after you see the video about the second flight. So enjoy this one, and I'll be right back after you see this video. Ready?
Yep.
First one will be low pass.
I lost it.
That's all right. You got it again yet?
Slide out. Yeah, I got it.
Here we go. Let you go. flaps. Flaps are down. Forcing the nose over. Flaps are up. I'm going to do another one with flaps. That was a poor landing. Landing flaps. Flaps up. Okay, full flaps, full stop. Landing flaps. The nose dropped quite a bit. Forcing the nose down. Okay, as you've just seen from that, what I call second flight video, there were 6 landings. The first 2 were no flaps and touch and go. The third one was what I call a short landing. Let me explain what that is. A short landing is similar to a dead stick. You're on downwind, and I sort of pretend, okay, dead stick time. I'm halfway down the field. Right midfield, pretend it's a dead stick, pull it to idle, and do what I call a short landing. Slow the airplane down, keep the nose up a little bit, slow once you pull it to idle on downwind, get the airspeed down, and then just whip it on around and down and in, and that's what I call the short field landing. That was the third landing. Then the next 2 were full flap touch and goes. The first one was kind of a rough landing. I ended up dropping it in a little bit. And when you're landing with the flaps on this airplane, you have to force the nose over. Get the angle of attack right. I don't like to change the trim on this, and I'll decide later whether, when I put the flaps down, if I want any aileron adjustment. It's too soon to do that yet. Still breaking it in, still new to the airplane. Gonna just do it manually. So when you put the flaps down, it will raise up on downwind a little bit, so keep the nose level. When you turn final, force it down, and the second full flap landing was a good landing. And then the last landing number 6, was a full flap, full stop landing. And you could probably better see on that one that I forced the nose down on the final approach and landed quite quickly. The reason for forcing the nose over is with those flaps down, you get close to the ground sooner, and then you can level off, and those flaps really take effect and slow and drag the airplane down. And that's why I dropped it in on the first full flap. I slowed it down a little too high in the air. So once you get close to the ground, let those flaps take effect and slow the airplane down, and it comes right in. I did have GPS on this, and although I couldn't watch it while I was flying, it did tell me the maximum airspeed was 78 miles an hour. That's pretty fast for a trainer. And because it's the OS-55, you can fly at 40 to 50% power all day long out there, and probably fly quite a long time. And you're not flying at 78 miles an hour. You're probably only flying at 45 or 50 miles an hour. one of these days, I'll make a video in which I'm training a student or something, or somebody else is flying the airplane, and I will film it and tell you the air speeds as we go around the pattern. But that'll be some future video. So that was a good second flight. Everything worked well, and I'm really happy about this airplane. Stay tuned. There's several more videos coming.